Hello, and welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. It's me, Joe Sherville. Joining me as ever is Chris Morris. Hello, Chris.
Hello. Are you going to say the name of the podcast?
How to Survive.
Yeah.
Thanks. I mean, they've downloaded it.
Yeah.
If you haven't...
Always good to maintain a strong brand.
Yeah. Show that never ends podcast.
Hello. Welcome to How to Survive, or should I say, bonjour.
Because this week's movie is French-Belgian.
Yes. Yeah.
It's great. It's good. It's a good film called Raw.
It's a good film. It's got the eye of the tiger. It's a fighter dancing through the fire. It's a champion.
Go on.
And you're going to hear it. All about it. It's Raw. Bonjour.
So yes.
Put your notes down in disgust.
So yes, Chris, thank you for that. This week's movie is Raw, the 2016-17 movie directed by Julia Ducournau. French-Belgian in production and language, but an excellent film nonetheless.
Don't hold that against it. Yeah.
It's great. It's on Amazon if you want to go and watch it now. You have to pay a bit, but it's worth every single penny.
Yeah, and it's also in shops.
Yeah, but who uses them anymore?
Yeah.
Dead technology shops.
And of course, if it's not in any shops near you, then maybe check your nearest bibliothèque. If you don't know where your nearest bibliothèque is, maybe ask the Syndicat Initiative.
Je voudrais une chambre pour deux personnes pour deux nuits. That's what I say. We'll be throwing on with a chat about how we'd survive in the film, following a discussion of what we liked and didn't like about it, and what worked and what didn't work in it. But first, we should recap the plot. And we'll be doing that after this quick commercial break. Bonjour again. Recapping the plot now.
Yes.
Raw tells the story of Justine, a young lady starting her first semester at veterinary school. She is a staunch and even preachy vegetarian, as well as being a virgin who doesn't really enjoy parties or nightclub lifestyle, preferring instead to study and achieve good grades. On the first night at her new university, Justine and her new flatmate, Adrian, a gay man, are woken in the dead of night by a masked gang. The gang ransack the flat and throw the beds out the window before revealing that they are the seniors on the course, and a week of hazing has begun, which is basically humiliating initiations for the freshers. Yeah,
all pretty accurate as well, as far as I understand. When it comes to
vet school,
for Central European universities,
really,
the hazing rituals are pretty brutal.
Wow.
From what I understand, from my girlfriend who attended a Belgian university for a time.
Was she made to eat people?
No, she was a second year when she went. Or third year even.
Got it. So she was making people eat people?
Yes, exactly.
Spoilers ahead. Not really, though, because it didn't actually happen.
No.
The hazing starts with a party at the university, and there Justine sees her sister, Alexia, who is drunk and enjoying herself. Alexia is a year older, maybe 2 years older. But she's been doing the vet thing for a while and is well accustomed to the hazing lifestyle.
She is.
As the initiation continues, Justine is told to eat raw rabbit liver. She refuses, but is forced to do it by Alexia in order to fit in. The liver gives Justine food poisoning, and she begins to grow unwell, with a severe rash causing her to lose out on sleep. Pressured by her classmates and her sister, who has eschewed vegetarianism since joining university, Justine tries to eat meat for the first time. Justine begins hanging out with her sister more often and taking style advice. One night, Alexia is giving Justine a bikini wax. Justine, racked with the pain of having hair ripped from her, kicks the scissors Alexia's hand.
We should say that one of the waxing strips gets stuck.
Yeah,
It's not just that you don't understand what a Brazilian is. And then she's about to cut it off, and Justine kicks her.
Yeah, she shouts something like, "It's my pussy," or something.
Yep.
And then kicks the scissors out of Alexia's hand, severing Alexia's middle finger. Alexia passes out, and Justine, now fully detached from reality, it seems, eats her sister's finger.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is that she's begun to be subject to meat cravings, and while the ambulance is on its way, she's sitting around confronted with her sister's finger
and gives in to eating it.
Yeah, exactly. Can't resist eating it.
That's a better way to put it than what I did. Fair enough. Maybe you should have written this. Alexia wakes up to discover that Justine is eating her finger.
Yes.
And is shocked and upset.
Yeah, that was one of my favourite bits of the film, I think.
What, crying?
No, it's her just like
silent tear.
Staring at her like, what the fuck are you doing?
After a hospital visit, Alexia reveals that she too is a cannibal and shows Justine her method of trapping fresh meat, which is to jump out in front of a moving car, causing it to veer off and crash into a tree, killing the driver and passenger in this case, allowing Justine or Alexia, whoever's in charge, to go and feast on the dead bodies.
Yep. Which is what you see in a cryptic opening sequence.
Yeah.
And is a good reveal.
Yep. Justine grows increasingly unsure of herself, her body, her sexuality, and her identity in general. She falls in love with Adrian, but he seems to be upset when she tries to bite him during sex.
And she ends up biting her own arm as she climaxes.
Yes. On a night out, Justine becomes very drunk and blacks out. In class the next day, her fellow students avoid her, and she realises that in her blacked out state, Alexia had mocked her by taunting her into biting a corpse in the morgue.
In front of,
Yeah, a spectacle seen and filmed by her entire year.
Yes.
Justine attacks Alexia in public, and they each take bites out of each other. When the assembled crowd begins taunting them, they take refuge in each other's arms and escape. The next day, Justine wakes up in bed with Adrian, only to realise that he is dead, having been stabbed and eaten by Alexia.
There's a big old chunk missing from his thigh.
Yeah. A hearty meal for anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Justine picks Alex up off the floor and takes her to the shower and cleans the blood off her. We learn that Alexia has been sent to prison for the murder and is safely now behind bars.
Yeah.
And in a coda, Justine's father explains that the cannibalism is nothing new. The girl's mother also suffers from the urge to eat people. But he tells her that the people find ways of coping, revealing his chest, which is covered in terrible scars from bites.
And fresh wounds as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that scene. That is...
That last scene.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And the reason it's brilliant is that her father has a scar which appears to be from a cleft palate
or a hair lip. Yeah.
Right. And earlier in the film, I literally thought, I wonder if that's like a clue to him being having been bitten. And I thought, well, no, that's just mad. That would be mad. And it's exactly what happens. And it is mad, but it's brilliant. Yeah. It's absolutely great. Because the way he explains it is that he and his wife, the mother of Justine and Alexia, they were like school sweethearts, is that right?
Yeah.
And she never wanted to kiss him, and he couldn't understand why. And then after they had their first kiss, he finally understood, meaning that she bit a giant hole in his lip, which Justine does to a boy earlier in the film.
Yeah.
And then reveals his incredibly scarred body.
It's really bad, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's an absolutely brilliant sort of punctuation mark on the end of a very good film.
Yeah, you liked it then?
Yes, I did. I think it's one of the best films that we've covered.
Yep.
I think it is... I know that you're going to go on to compare it to Black Swan, and I think it's similarly complex in its both its overt, horror, body horror leanings, and in this case, cannibal leanings, and also in its sort of interior conflict that's implied beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And it doesn't in any way skimp on the stomach churning gore and grisly scenes.
Yes, those are pretty harrowing. I mean, I left a lot of them out in the recap, but there's one scene in particular where Justine is basically vomiting, but she's vomiting up a hairball because in the scene before, she's receiving some news from her professor that even though she's getting good grades, he's going to judge her even more harshly, and that essentially he's going to try and make her fail because she's like too good, basically.
Yeah, she's like the poster girl.
Yeah. And she's during that absentmindedly chewing on her hair.
Yeah.
And it immediately cuts to a scene where she's vomiting up her hair, and it's like a never-ending string of hair that she has to kind of pull from her throat, and it's pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah. That plays into the whole like binging and purging sort of eating disorder theme of the film. And just after that, she goes and like washes her face, and a girl says, if you stick two fingers down your throat, it will come up easier. Yeah.
But that's where it got me thinking initially, that the world that we're seeing is kind of the world in Justine's head, and that the cannibalism and the coughing up hair isn't actually happening. That the hair is a metaphor for actually she was making herself vomit, right?
Right.
Because she was developing an eating disorder. But that's what I was thinking for a while. I changed my mind on that, and I realised that the movie was just using the actual things that were happening as a metaphor for other things.
What point was that? At what point did you realise that? Was it the bit where she ate her sister's finger and her sister sees her doing it? And
Not
then it
really.
plays into the rest of the film.
Not really, because for a while I thought the sister was in her head as well. Like they show up at the beginning and she's not there to pick her up.
Yeah, okay.
It's things like that make me think, but she clearly is. By the end you realise that she is. And the dead body is kind of a thing you can't write out.
I think that I have to say that I feel like most of the film is taking place in an objective reality. I think like thematically there are definitely links to things like eating disorders and body image.
Yeah.
Like all those sorts of themes. But I think that for the most part, it's taking place in a sort of objective reality.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Because by the end, like I said, I'd come around to that way of thinking. I mean, you mentioned it just now, but ultimately, this is a study on mental health, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
And on sexuality as well, but primarily on mental health, I think. And it's a very authentic metaphor for the identity shift that happens when you move out of home and you go to university for the first time.
Yeah.
So you arrive at uni. You've done it as well. You went to uni. I'm sure many of our listeners have gone to uni. But you arrive at uni and you feel initially, you're unsure, maybe a bit isolated, sleep deprived, absolutely. Justine doesn't have Justine has it worse because she feels somewhat abandoned by her family. Like her sister didn't show up and her dad's very keen to leave and say like, let's just get on the road. So she must feel some abandonment on that level. Clearly she doesn't fit in because everything she says she gets like scoffed at about the vegetarianism and stuff like that. And she doesn't enjoy partying, that's clear. And that's, that isolation and that unsureness is clearly where mental health can arise, mental health problems can arise. And I think an interesting perspective is that her sister could be seen as an embodiment of the mental health problems and maybe an eating disorder as well.
Okay.
So it's always the sister, you notice, that says things like, this dress will never fit you, or that she tells her she's weird or annoying or doesn't fit in. But then again, she praises her for appearing to have lost weight. She tells her like, you better not have got anorexic, because if you get anorexic, you might die. It's things like that that are kind of...
She's like a sounding board of her own...
neuroses.
Mental, unwellness.
Exactly, yeah. And the epitome of that is a scene where they're both playing a video game together. And the scene transitions as the sister, Alexia, is saying, just kill yourself, right? And she means it in the game, but in the broader
Yeah.
context of the film, where everything she says is taken as advice,
Yeah.
that is a clear step towards Justine's developing depression and body image issues, I think. There's a scene where she, as we mentioned, where she sees her sister, who tells her, I hate having you around, or something like that, and throws her out. Next scene, she sees her professor, who tells her that she's a failure despite the fact that she's achieving very highly.
Yeah.
And that scene after that is where she's making herself sick. Right?
And it's the reason that she's being that whole thing with her professor is because her parents are vets and her sister's a vet. And so he takes umbrage with the fact that he thinks that she's just there because it's like some family, not quite an inherited thing, but it's like she's being funneled down this path because of her family's, veterinary history.
So she has to walk in the family footsteps, kind of thing.
Yeah, and obviously, as the film plays out, inheriting traits from your family members becomes a very big thing.
Yeah,
at the end of the film,
absolutely. But equally, that there must be some level of doubt that he's. The other characters in the film.
All the other characters in the film. Basically, what you're saying is that all the other characters in the film act as sort of reflections of her own
thoughts,
mental unwellness.
Yes, and the thoughts she's having. So she's saying, she's thinking probably, is this what I want to do? Do I want to follow my family? And the professor's saying, this isn't for you. Basically, you're not going to get this easy. And she's having doubt, and then she makes herself sick in a very harrowing scene. Or she doesn't make herself sick, but she's vomiting up hair, which is nasty. But ultimately, to go back to the metaphor of the sister being the embodiment of the mental health problems, it's the sister that ruins her relationship with Adrian, right? There's frequent things where the boyfriend is like, I don't like your sister, which could mean I don't like this side of your personality if you look at it that way. But she keeps coming around more and more often and hanging out with Adrian. And then I think he makes a comment about her in one scene in the school, and Justine is confused and says, I thought you didn't like her. So she's obviously battling with that side of her personality as well.
It's when he has a text from her sister on his phone. And she's like, why have you got her number? I thought you didn't like her.
Right, exactly. I thought you didn't like that side of my personality. Maybe.
Yeah. It's starting to ring into the realms of
reaching.
Forcing everything to fit. But it's definitely founded on concrete. But
ultimately, it's her sister and her, if you take my analogy, her mental health problems that kills her relationship, literally, in this case. It's only when she shows acceptance and compassion to her sister that she can finally lock it away.
That's true, yeah.
And then she realises that her familial traits are hereditary and they affect the family in ways that she never really understood until she became an adult.
Sure, and also, that other people are going through similar things or have gone through similar things to her. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned like her realization as she becomes an adult. Yeah. And I think another like very strong theme is like a coming of age. It's basically a coming of age film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a coming of age film
where it doesn't quite go as planned.
Right. I mean, none of them do, and that's often the point of them.
Yeah.
But few of them end up in
cannibalism.
Quite this direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, when she goes to university, it's about reinvention. It's about anxiety about fitting in among your peers, and it's about sexual awakening. And the sexual awakening in this runs in tandem with her like cannibalistic tendencies and the awakening of that side of her personality. And I think the film is very similar to like vampire films in that respect.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So lots of vampire films have that sort of the violence and the consumption element is like entangled with sort of sex and lust and carnal desires, right? And in vampire films it makes a lot of sense because it's the sharing of bodily fluids between two people.
Exactly. And the penetration as well. Through the teeth and the willy. That's
great. And I think this film has that as well. Like both a vampire film and this film have that element of an intermingled thing of sexual desire, sexual awakening, and consumption of like taking something from the person that you're having this relationship with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, is it a horror movie or is it a mental health thing? I think it's both. In my opinion.
I don't know. I think it strays more into the psychological horror, which is to say it's got something more, it's more similar to something like It Follows, something like Black Swan than it is like Cannibal Holocaust.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think you're right in that, you know, she doesn't appear to be a particularly healthy person in terms of her mental stability. And as we've said, she's clearly succumbing to, you know, body dysmorphia, eating disorders, those sorts of things. And her behaviour definitely demonstrates a kind of self-destructive attitude.
Yeah.
But in other respects, I think it's quite a traditional horror movie in that it's, you know, it tackles a very taboo subject. The main character is succumbing to it sort of against her will, and it doesn't skimp on the gore. No,
I agree. So, I mean, what other horror movies that are pure horror would you compare it with?
Well, I mean, to take another way, Black Swan, I think it's you know, it's got all that psychological horror stuff, but it's not a traditional horror film in the subject matter it tackles.
It's about a ballet dancer who wants to be better.
Yeah, and who turns into a swan, maybe.
Well, yeah, but that's like, but in the same way as, like, you know, this person becomes a cannibal, maybe. Like, I think you're right. Objectively, in this movie, she does become a cannibal,
right?
But it's possible to read that as a very thick metaphor.
Okay. Yeah, no, and I think it is couched in all those allegorical elements, and it does have all those layers of meaning. Definitely, I'm not for a minute saying that it doesn't.
You're saying it's just text.
Yeah, no, but I think it is also, you know, an objective reality horror movie. But I think it's both. Get you a film that can do both.
Yes, I agree. Is it the best movie we've ever covered?
I mean, for me, it's up there. It's up there with the likes of Get Out and The Witch.
It Follows.
Yeah, like those are, you know, my favourite ones.
Yes.
I mean, we'll have to see whether it stands the test of time. I think it probably will, because it's unlike a lot of other. Well, it's unlike any horror movie.
I'm not so sure, because, I mean, it was billed and it was marketed as being a body horror, a medical horror, all these things. And if you watch the trailer, it's very much like something's really wrong here. And there is something really wrong in it, but it's billed as more gothic, I think, than it is.
Right.
You know.
There's one trailer which is literally just the scene where her roommate comes in when she's in the kitchen in the middle of the night. And he's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm making breakfast." And he's like, "Why are you in the fridge? The cereal's there." And she's like, "I'm just getting milk." And he goes, "Right, fine." Goes back to bed. And then it turns out she's like eating like fistfuls of raw chicken meat. And it's just that scene. That's the whole trailer.
It's a pretty creepy scene though. It's unsettling.
Yeah. But that's what the film does brilliantly, in the same way that something like Black Swan will, in that Black Swan presents you with some scenes where she starts acting in unusual, unimaginable ways for the character, and just goes, "Here you are, this is a scene, move on."
Yeah, or there'll be a scene where she's on the tube or on the subway in New York, and like just something unusual will happen. Like this isn't in the film, but, you know, like someone will walk past like a big fat person with like newspaper shoved down their pants, and everything's just there to unsettle you. Right. And it's the same. Every single scene in every single shot, I think, in Raw has something in it to just make you feel unwell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
It's a really good film. I'd urge. I mean, we say this a lot. I mean, that, you know, some people just listen to the podcast and that's like their way of safely consuming horror movies. But just go watch it, because it is fantastic. Like, I couldn't recommend it highly enough.
It's not just a good horror film or just a good film. It's an amazing piece of cinema, right? It's like everything a film should be, because it's just like so good.
Yeah. Great stuff. Well done, Julia.
Yeah. I might go and watch it again. Right now. See
Why
ya.
not? You own it.
I own it, yeah. I own the film.
Yeah.
I own it whenever it's like, buy this film. I'm like, it sounds like I'm getting the rights to it or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's $5.99 on Amazon.
Yeah.
So with all that said, Chris, we've chewed over the meat and drink on
lots to digest.
Yeah. What do you think you'd do if you were the one who was in the film raw and you were asked...
If only there was a snappier way of doing this.
How would you survive?
How would I survive? Right, well, did your parents ever talk to you about drugs? Did they ever give you the talk?
Nope, and that's why I've just shot up 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
All right. And what did that consist of?
Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. If you do them, there's risk involved. You don't want to waste your life. And, like, yeah, that's basically it. Just quite negative about them.
Yeah. And so you understood the risks and why people do drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
And did them anyway.
Great. Good for you.
That's
Now, if you had a peanut allergy,
yeah,
would you expect your parents to go, listen, don't eat peanuts because this will happen to you. Some people like peanuts. These are the benefits of eating peanuts. But, this is what will happen if you eat peanuts.
Yeah.
Right. Now, basically, my point with the drug chat is that they gave you a point of reference with which to deal with the idea of drugs, okay? And what would happen to you if you took drugs, if you tried drugs, right? Now, the family in this film have basically forcefully made Justine abstain from eating meat to protect her from the effects of eating meat that will have on her, which is that she will become a raging cannibal.
Yeah.
Now, surely it's better to tell your daughter about cannibalism and the effects that eating meat would have on her rather than them growing up knowing nothing about it, unable to cope with it and ending up killing people because that's the way they need, that's how they get access to human meat, right? Because abstinence is clearly not the answer, because that's what they tried. They tried that with her sister. Her sister's a cannibal. They tried that with her. She's a cannibal. Right? Abstinence clearly does not work in this instance, right?
Yeah.
And they are living proof that you can create a system which allows you to cope with it in your day-to-day life.
I'm afraid what you've done there, though, is recognised the conceit of the film.
Right.
Rather than it.
But why... I love that plot point in that her, her mum and dad are like a cannibal advocacy couple.
It's like let the right one in. He's like a helper basically.
But the net result of this is that one of their daughters is in prison for life, having killed and eaten a man. Yeah,
but that's that is an extreme metaphor for sexual repression, isn't it? Like you said, abstinence isn't a good thing to teach people.
Yeah.
You need to teach them about safe sex. You need to teach them about the safety of it.
So you need to teach them about safe eating. Safe meat eating.
Yeah. But there's no safe meat eating. And they have taught her that.
They haven't, though.
Right. Because she doesn't know why she doesn't eat it.
Yeah.
But that's what
they've done, to use your abstinence sex education example, what they've done is make her grow up in a household where sex is like something that amoral people do. You never have sex. Don't ever have sex, right? Nothing good will ever come of having sex. And you don't need to know anything about having sex or what might happen to you if you have sex, because you're never going to have sex. Right, and that's it. That's
that is the attitude of some households, though.
Right,
that is their way of sex education.
Yeah. And what happens when their kids go to university? They end up shagging everyone, and they get pregnant, or they get an STD,
or they eat someone,
They kill and eat someone with a ski pole.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. So what you're saying there is in two ways. One, in the film, teach them about the risks of eating meat, and one in real life, teach them about the risks of sex so that they can do it properly in both cases.
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
So because it's obviously a sort of like quite, similar to vampirism. It's like an uncontrollable urge to some degree, right? But her parents have found a way to deal with it in a safe, controlled manner.
But I think the point of it is that that's not really safe and controlled.
Well,
it's not healthy for anyone, is it?
Well, he's still alive, and it's like 25 years later.
He's not having a good time, is he, with that lot?
He seems to be. I took the message to be like, the things we do for love.
Yeah, that is the message. But, the things we do for love in this case is detrimental to the person who's like the supportive one.
Yeah, but he's still in better shape than Adrian is, isn't he?
Yeah, not so good at football now.
No, it's true. Yeah.
Wow.
That's another link between lust and eating. And like the shots where she's watching him play football shirtless, and it's like close-up shots of his muscles and things. Yeah. And you're like, well, is she looking at him like
a
meal? Or?
Yeah. Then she gets a nosebleed.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Do you never get nosebleeds when you're really hungry and turned on?
Sometimes. Yeah. Right. So
how about you? Any survival ideas?
Yes, one big one.
Mm-hmm.
Only one, but I think it's a doozy.
A doozy. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Now, what belief system does she have at the beginning of the film?
She is a vegetarian.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And now my thesis is that's not enough.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. She's a vegetarian. She makes an interesting philosophical discussion where she says something along the lines of, humans and animals should have the same rights. And she says, if a monkey is raped, then it is as bad as a human being raped. That's something that the character believes. Right? However, in a later scene, she's getting cereal, isn't she?
Well, she's not though, is she?
No, but she alludes to the fact that she's getting cereal. Right. And she says, no, I'm just getting the milk for the cereal. Yeah. As if that's something she does all the time.
Okay.
That's what she's hiding behind. So we know that she's not vegan. We know that.
Right.
She's vegetarian. So with vegetarianism, the only way you've got to go is basically the step down from there is eating meat, isn't it? Mm-hmm. With veganism, you can go to vegetarianism. See what I mean? So she's given herself no way out. Basically.
So what you're saying, but I mean,
so if she basically the problem is she starts eating animal meat, but because of her beliefs that animals and people are on the same level, she then equates meat as being meat, whether it's from a human or whether it's from an animal. That's what her belief system tells her, right? Right. So she has no problem really eating the humans because she thinks
humans are on an equivalent plane to animals.
Flesh is flesh, right?
Right.
However, if she was strictly vegan and she was like, I'm going to have a glass of milk, and then she was like looking for the equivalent in humans, she'd be drinking breast milk, right? And you can get breast milk without killing people.
Right.
And like...
Now, I would call this a leap.
Why?
Because... So your idea is be vegan rather than vegetarian.
Yes.
Because if you carry a cannibalistic gene trait.
Yeah.
And as we all know, cannibalism, the net effect of cannibalism is that it takes you one rung lower on the eating ladder.
Yeah.
According to Joe Sherfel, where vegan is at the top and vegetarian is the middle rung and meat is the lower rung. Yeah. God forbid. Who knows where she'd have gone if she already ate meat and then suddenly developed this trait? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, that's so. Here's my question though.
Right.
If she was staunchly in belief that I'm not putting that in my mouth. Mm-hmm. She's so basically she's like, oh, should I eat that meat? Should I eat the meat? If she's like, no, I'm not.
What, the rabbit?
She should say, no, I'll have a glass of milk instead. I'll have some rabbit milk instead.
No one's offering that.
She.
I think it's rabbit kidney. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, take it. Leave it then. Just leave it and have.
Yeah, I mean that is a roundabout way of coming to this point. Going on about your vegan hierarchy and everything.
Yeah.
Are you vegan? I wish you'd have mentioned it.
You're the one who
at
brought
some
it up.
point. I literally didn't.
You did.
When?
You just brought it up. No, you asked me if I'm vegan. I didn't mention the fact that I was vegan. It's funny that you feel the need to.
I'll be honest,
compel.
Joe. I think everyone got the idea that you're vegan from the last 5 minutes of chat.
Why? Because I said anyone below me is basically a cannibal.
Yeah, exactly.
Below me as well.
Yeah, including vegetarians.
Yes, they're one step away. All it takes is one slip up and you're cannibalising people.
Yeah. So basically, it comes just to the rabbit kidney scene. Don't eat the rabbit kidney, which is a fair bit of advice because we like to suggest to people stick to your principles.
Yeah.
In a lot of horror movies, that's the difference between life and death.
But her principles are basically, do I want to fit in or do I want to compromise on my principles for one moment?
Yeah.
And her conscience, in the form of her sister, says, compromise on your principles. And then she gets food poisoning. That should be a lesson there.
It is, but then I don't think she's really in control of her meat cravings after that.
Because she kills and eats people.
Yeah, because it doesn't appear to be her will, does it?
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
No.
So you think that's hokum, my idea?
No, I think it's a good bit of advice to stick to your principles, and you know that I will support you in any way that I can in your quest to hug every animal.
Yeah.
Get them all on your ark and sail them to your vegan island commune. Right, my second idea, my final idea. As I said earlier, there's clearly a link throughout drawn between lust and cannibalistic desire.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I would say culminates in the death of Adrian, who's the, handsome man that we see throughout the film, basically. He's the most outwardly attractive, sexually active man that we see.
Yeah, let me ask you a question, though. What is his homosexuality? How do you
I think
interpret
he's
that?
bisexual, isn't he?
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, he calls himself a fag.
Well, what he says is, she says, I asked for a female roommate. And he said,
you got a fag, which they obviously equate to be the same thing.
Right.
They being the university, I guess.
Yes.
But then
he uses the slur himself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm quoting his words.
And and we see him engaged in sexual activity with a man. We see him watching gay porn.
Yeah.
And then he has sex with Justine.
But then he has an outburst where he says something like, I didn't spend 20 years lying to everyone and hiding about it just to fuck women. And he kicks over a table. So is he having some sort of awakening himself?
Probably, yeah. Well, I mean, everyone seems to be experimenting.
Yeah.
To a great degree, don't they?
Look where he got him. Got his leg bitten off and he was killed.
And that's the lesson. Don't be gay. Yeah, so that's a joke, obviously. It culminates the whole sex and desire and cannibalism thing. Those themes culminate in Adrian's death, don't they?
They do, yeah.
And he's an object of
cannibalism,
desire.
Definitely, yeah.
An object of desire throughout the film.
Yeah.
So in many ways, it's his own fault for being eaten, isn't it? Because he's so damn handsome.
Be less handsome.
Yeah, be less handsome, be less delicious looking, and maybe don't wash as much.
Yeah.
Maybe put on a bit of weight, stop doing so much exercise.
Yeah, with his shirt off.
Eat some more fatty foods.
Yeah.
Maybe get a bit of acne or something, because I mean, we don't see Justine eating any ugly people, do we?
No. She seems to equate handsomeness with meat, doesn't she?
Yeah, exactly. To the extent that she gets a nosebleed from the internal equating that she's doing. So don't be such a handsome devil, and you won't end up stabbed and with a giant chunk of your thigh eaten.
It's a large amount, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's got quite big quads.
Yeah, well, exactly. That was his first mistake. If he was sinewy and like Mo Farah, then... Mo
Farah's a handsome man.
I'm not saying he's not handsome. I'm just saying that there's less meat on him than if
vegan
than
diet.
Adrian.
Vegan diet will do that to you, mate.
Yeah, well, it's like corn, isn't it?
Another vegan who would have survived the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a vegan or not. Vegetarian though.
I think he is vegan, isn't he?
No, he drinks chocolate milk, doesn't he? Famously. This is coconut milk. I don't know.
What a cunt.
Yeah, he's one step away from being a
cannibalism. Yeah. Utter scum.
Yeah. In fact,
in your words, would you say Mo Farah is scum?
I'd say scum until proven guilty, innocent, really.
Scum until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, no, scum until proven innocent.
Right. What? So the burden of proof
Is on him to show me he's not a cannibal.
And how's he going to do that? Being a vegan for the rest of his life?
Yes.
Right.
Plant-based diet.
Great.
And I advise you to do
When
the
was
same
the last
thing.
time you ate meat? Or any animal product?
A few weeks. It's quite hard to avoid all the time. But I haven't consciously done anything for a while.
Oh, okay.
We had a pizza together. But that was months ago, I think.
That was last year, I think.
Yeah.
How's it going?
What?
How is your
Veganism?
veganism going?
It's okay, yeah. It's much better this year because...
All right, mate, don't go on about it.
That
was How to Survive. That was episode 129 of How to Survive. Thanks very much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, howtosurviveshow@gmail.com, at HowToSurvivePod on Twitter, facebook.com/HowToSurvivePod. You can also leave us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Yeah, and be sure to go to joesmeatlocker.com and use our offer code MEAT100
for 80% off 1 kilo of beef jerky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next week, Joe, we're going back, aren't we? It's been 10 weeks.
Crystal Lake?
No.
Oh.
The secondary destination for the podcast. It's Paranormal Activity 4.
Great. California is the setting for those films.
Right.
So
Great. Sunny.
Last time
A lot of vegans there, probably.
Last time we had a hysterical ending which led to a witch's coven being revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Got that to look forward to. Where will we go next?
Who knows? There's only one way to find out, and that will be in episode 130 of the How to Survive podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been Chris. Joe has been a staunch vegan for 2 weeks and would love to tell you all about it. Joe.
Bye.